CCD was supported. That's how I know Muthu probably, during the tsunami time from aid in US, we did support some of these initiatives, what CCD did from their Kanyakumari region on providing jobs to many of the people. Kanyakumari Kalikudam is still active. If you are in Kanyakumari, you should definitely drop there. The president of CCD, he's a IMA graduate, and he's chosen to become social entrepreneur and working with Muthu for many, many years. So CCD was started early on. Muthu is one of the early social work graduate out of Madurai Kamaraj University. I think you're the first batch, Muthu Illingla.
That time itself, it's more than 30 years old, sir. That
30 years. Wow. Okay, good. So with that, he had a lot of knowledge in the space for many years, working with the dryland agriculture and agriculture related activities, running a very successful microfinance company as well. And now the major focus around the agriculture, as I was mentioning, supporting many FPOs and many farmers across, and also helping them to look at many of the modern need that people are asking for. As I was mentioning, the chilies of Ramanathapuram district, thanks to CCD, now there are many people are growing chilies because he's able to find a market. The Tabasco sauce that people are using powerfully, and the chili goes from CCD. Similarly, there are many of the brands like AVT and 24-liter Mantra. Many brands calls Muthu for a specific need for a particular herbal or a particular activity. Now Moringa is in a vogue. If you go to his NGO in Sevayu, there is quite a bit of Moringa activities happening. So let's talk about the Gramamooligai, which is very, very unique initiative. It was started by CCD to ensure that we preserve this local wisdom. And as I was mentioning, that a lot of locals have local wisdom about herbals. And if you see that across the road, around the road, you will see a lot of these plants, bushes growing up. And these are all herbals. We call them weeds, but these are all herbals. People, with knowledge of Siddha will be able to identify what are those herbals are, what is the use of. So like this, there are unorganized way of people just gathering these herbals, supplying to the local healers to improve that. And I always say that in agriculture, there is an analogy of food chain, right? The top is your tiger, and you have a deer and a grass. The tiger eats the deer, deer eats the grass. So in parallel to agriculture, the tiger is the person close to the customer. So anyone close to the customer decides the price, and he understands what the customer wants. So then he decides the price, and then he asks the processing company that I want a tomato ketchup at this price that they market it. So the processing company is like a deer, right? They'll go to the farmer, okay, give me a tomato at this price because I need to sell the tomato ketchup at this price. So one way to improve farmers' livelihood is about making the farmer from grass to becoming a tiger. I think that is what Muthu has pioneered that very well. Is about a simple processing, simple value addition. We can improve the income that farmers are earning. So in his place, if you go that, you'll see there's a lot of local herbs getting just simply sought out, dry out. And these big companies like Himalaya and Dabur would give them a better price rather than you just pluck it and give it to them. And many, many unique herbals are still available or not available. That is where he encouraged the local farmers to grow that as well. The picture you see that I was talking earlier, this is near Nattam Road on Madurai called Karandamalai. Valasi is a small village where these farmers like Kalimuthu, and you look at the hills behind it, it was full of this Sengandal. It is Kanvali Kalanga in Tamil, Gloria Supaba, it's a botanical name. It's a state flower of Tamil Nadu. And Kalimuthu was telling when Muthu took me to this place earlier, and in the this hill was full of these flowers. And that's why probably in earlier days, we used to call maybe this as a state flower. I'm sure many in Tamil Nadu has no clue this is the state flower. I did not know until I met Muthu and Kalimuthu. So Kalimuthu used to say that, the people come there, they plug this plant and give it to them for peanuts, and they know that it has medicinal value, but they did not get the good price. But there are initiatives Muthus and their partners have done around these areas to organize this so that it can be sold to a pharma company in Europe, and so that the farmers will get a better price. Now Kalimuthu, the same plant was growing wild in the hills, and he's growing in his farm right now. And getting the seed become tough today because it's in a high demand. So similarly, there are many herbals like that. It is a rural wisdom, and we are not able to understand. So FRLHT is the revitalization of herbal medicine. It is an NGO started around 35 years back by Ratan Tata and Sam Pitroda support. And Gramamooligai was supported by FRLHT. If you are in Bangalore, you should visit FRLHT. Now it is renamed as Trans University. They have a very good Ayurveda hospital as well. So this FRLHT is funded later by Shibalal of Infosys. If you go there, every herbal mentioned in Ayush. Ayush stands for Ayurveda, Unani, and homeopathy and Siddha. All the Indian traditional systems, every herbal mentioned, you will see the germplasm is preserved there in FRLHT. And the palm leaves are digitized. You go there, they have a database that is, if you search FRLHT website also available, you put Brahmi, it'll give you 55 names in every language possible in India, what Brahmi is called. So it is a very wealth of knowledge, preserving this knowledge, and Gramamooligai work with them and find a science behind some of these as well. So FRLHT was, Padma was in the Gramamooligai board earlier when Muthu was developing. So that is what is potential, that around us, there are rural wisdom, but we have no idea. On the way back from Karandamalai, I was coming in the vehicle. Suddenly the employee of CCD who accompanied me stopped the vehicle, and he said that, sir, look at this, all these, some herbal was growing there, and Suguna chicken want these herbal as the feed. So we are trying to work on that. So that is the point. In India, every part of India, the rural wisdom is along the side of the roads, and we are missing out the knowledge, and we are looking the knowledge somewhere else. So goal of Muthu is exactly that, get this rural wisdom and work with people like FRLHT who documented it, to found the science behind those, and then provide these to people who may be wanting this thing. So I'll just stop here. I will keep it as a conversation. So I'll just ask Muthu, who's been in social sector for a very, very long time. So the question I'm going to ask him is that today there are a lot of entrepreneurs, coming to agriculture and social, it's glamorous, but they want immediate return. They start today, and tomorrow they want to, get in social media, getting 1,000 likes, and they want to be recognized. I remember one social entrepreneur called me that, sir, I've been working on this 2 years. You are in this Forbes 30 jury, and why I'm not getting a recognition yet. So I tell that, look at Muthu has been working at 35 years and an Ashoka fellow, and Damodaran worked in 35 years on Swachh Bharat, finally got a Padma Shri. So like this, and entrepreneurs, like people in social entrepreneurship, they work on a vision and they focus and they put many, many years behind it to make that a success. So Muthu, what is your advice to the young budding entrepreneur and who want instant gratitude? They want to start today, put it in social media, get 1,000 likes and million followers. I think they think their job is done. So what is your advice to them?
Similar like us, there are hundreds of social enterprises. So we are all in the midst of our growth plan. So most of the founders were not from the business schools, or not. We have been exposed into the reality of the business. Because of our own amateur growth and the pressure from the community, as well as some of the well-wishers like you who have giving us some lead, based on that only we are able to kickstart something. But our inability to mobilize working capital from the mainstream institutions even though we have a lot of orders from the corporates, because we are all working as a not-for-profit, as well as the community goodwill, able to even supply the material on credit with the quality at the doorsteps. But still the problem is lack of our own the lack of our own skill sets. Both the buyer as well as the suppliers are not able to scale it up. So it is a great opportunity for any entrepreneur who wants to start something on a new. Each of us, not only CCD, but also many other social enterprises are always welcome not as a even individual, but as a group also, as a classmates or a friends or a batchmates or a relatives. They can join with us where we are in the middle. So if their own skill sets, their own exposure, their own networks, easily it could able to scale it up. So whatever their expectation of the short span results, it is easily possible, sir. Rather, if they could beginning from zero, from something of the new activity. Because each enterprise will require minimum 3 to 5 years of maturity period to even break even. So where the scaling up, it's only possible after 10 years or 20 years. So since there are so many social organizations are remain in one stage, so if we are all wants to graduate, so we need such support from the external community, sir.
Yeah. So that's the opportunity for all the entrepreneurs today, is that there is, if you go meet Muthu, I'm sure you'll have tens of ideas in agriculture. What can we do? So that's a challenge. What I see today in entrepreneurs is that they are struggling to find the problems, right? They start from the solution and they try to force fit and they look for the problems to solve. But here we have people like Muthu on the field, have hundreds of problems that need solutions. Even tomorrow, if any of you would like to work with Muthu, take this Gramamooligai forward, or it's an amazing initiative, I think there is a lot of opportunities available because of the wisdom and knowledge. There is more and more marketing opportunities are available, right? The bandwidth and the modern thought process around how do we build a startup around these ideas is something available for all the entrepreneurs there. So Muthu, can you give an example like this?
Thing, sir, even for the new avenue opened up in the name of farmer producer organizations.
Yeah.
Again, all the NGOs, we are able to build the institution, able to mobilize the right kind of progressive farmers into the primary producers as a group at the village level, clusters at the panchayat level, then able to register as a company.
Yeah.
But to work with them on preparing a business plan and mobilizing the resources, as well as the support from the government. If whatever the support available from NABARD or SFAC, it is not sufficient for to get the real CEOs. So it is only possible if already somebody from on their mid-career dropouts who wants to take it up further. So their skill set, their network will become a boom for such a budding farmer producer organization, sir.
Absolutely. I think you touched upon a very valid point, Muthu, that someone asked a question a little earlier. They want to bring in more youth into agriculture. I've asked them to reach out to you. I think I've shared the CCD website as well. We'll share Muthu's contact later also. So coming back to this rural wisdom, Muthu, I think, can you go a little more deeper on this Sangandal, right? How much of this, knowledge or the potential of Sangandal is there, and how it has been leveraged through some Europeans, but not India. So can you give some more insight into it? Muthu?
No, this particular plant in Tamil, it's called Kannuvali Kalangu, where the seeds are used for, as you rightly mentioned, for anti-cancer treatment. But the producers at the grassroots level not able to directly access with the end users. Since it's a life-saving drug, there is a company in Bangalore called Indiana. They are the one who own the patent rights. So since the company works with thousands of intermediary organizations, because this plant is largely cultivated in the Vattansattanam region, because it's a very highly skilled, which requires a very highly skilled labor, because unlike other crop, this flower doesn't pollinate. So you have to artificially, manually you have to pollinate. And similarly, the initial investment for this particular crop for setting up the pandal, so which requires a huge investment upfront, which is not at all possible for small and marginal farmers. So hence the Indiana as an organization to work with their own intermediaries who actually act as a trader to sourcing material for them. In turn, they will advance money to the individual producers. So initially it was around Vattansattanam, then lot of poaching between the different traders. So they were moved into where, like a Natham, the farm size are very small and marginal, not a big size farms like in Ramanathapuram, Sivaganga or Virudhunagar. And the family labors only, it's mainly involved in the cultivation, like any other backward integration crops like gherkins, which required 24/7, the monitoring and the right time of harvest and grading at the farm gate and supply in time. So which is a similar like this Glorious or Superpa, the botanical name for this Kannuvali Kalangu. So the small farmers only cultivated in Natham. So unlike the big farmers in Vattansattanam, they had the network. So here there is no traders. So they have to take the produce into Vattansattanam. That's where our auditor, Gramamooligai company auditor, he is the auditor for even Indiana. So he only introduced us with the Indiana. So where these producers themselves through Gramamooligai, they could sell the produce to Indiana directly without the intermediaries.
Awesome. Any other example, any one more herbal like this, how you have interfered, Muthu, and helped the locals as well? Before you answer, I think the website is being shared. That is where the Conserving Biodiversity, the picture you see, that is the entrance of the NGO of Muthu. It's in Solayur. You see that all this activity that is happening inside. It's a very beautiful place. That's where C.K. Prahalad visited and spent time with Muthu while he was writing about the book, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, which transformed the whole world. I'm sure many of you know about C.K. Prahalad. C.K. Prahalad is one of the management guru of the 21st century that we had a very privileged. He's from Tamil Nadu. The C stands for Coimbatore. Yeah, and he worked in San Diego University. He had contributed two major things to the human race. One is about balanced scorecard. Every business school teaches today the balanced scorecard that came from C.K. Prahalad. The second thing is about the economic BOP, what we call bottom of the pyramid, but later we call it bottom of the economic pyramid. So where he opened up many of the developing countries. Until then, even India was worried about the population. I think you might have seen back then about population control. But C.K. Prahalad came up with the management theory about the bottom of the economic pyramid, there is a fortune, and the countries should be leveraging he completely transformed the thought process in many people across the world around the population aspect of it. That's when you start seeing that many companies started looking at India as a market rather than a poor country, which kind of transformed completely the look of it. There are many of the impact investment themes started coming around that, focusing on the bottom of the economic pyramid. I think that CK I mentioned about Muthu's work in his book. I think if you read the book, you would have heard about that. So with that, Muthu, just tell about your UNDP initiative that you're doing in Sevayor, where you want to also look at many of the herbals growing in across Western Ghats and also expose them into more people. Yeah.
Sir, this initiative called Gramamooligai Company, when FLHT and Danida has signed a 10 years agreement between 1992 and 2002, they wanted to conserve plants in a 3 different streams. One is called in situ conservation through the place like in Alagar Hills, where there are endemic, which are all unique to Alagar Kovil. So reintroduce those plants in the same ecosystem. Then the second one is known as Medicinal Plant Conservation Park, like what you mentioned, Sevayor. It is one among the 12 Medicinal Plant Conservation Park established, supported by FLHT. And third one is called Medicinal Plant Conservation Area, where the degraded forest introduced some of the rare endangered threatened species for the conservation. So when the fact end of the project in 1999, the Danida were assigned to CCD to do a medicinal plant field study across Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. So we worked with the existing 9 partners of FLHT to found there were about 30 districts, 10 districts in each state, either known for its trade like Virudhunagar, Theni, Tindukal, Madurai, sort of a medicinal plant market trade zones, or some of the processing houses like thru, where hundreds of Ayurvedic, both modern and traditional houses are there, or exports like Thoothukudi, both the direct company, the Japanese and who are all in the nutraceuticals are directly doing processing at the Thoothukudi store and then lifting the material, or the conventional export houses also exporting the producers. So out of the 30 districts sample study, so it's a proven promote what you mentioned as Amul pattern of 3-tier cooperative. So Professor Tirlaman Sastri and Professor Sanjay Fansalkar and KRS Murthy, 3 of them, the brainchild, this concept of Gramamooligai Company, anchored by one of the IRMA professor, Dr. Ganapathy Raju, who anchored initially the trial run at Madurai with our community-based organization called Mahakalasam, where the federation mobilized the landless agricultural laborer women who are all supposed to depend on medicinal plant collection for their livelihood, called Valayars. So there were about 42 traditional Valayar communities around our farm and in Nattam. And similarly, there were about 12 cultivation groups were become as a shareholder and stakeholder in the Gramamooligai Company. So they were conducting a procurable potential assessment survey before every season began. And then they know which are the plants available, how much quantity is available, it's a green to dry weight ratio and all. So based on that, the Gramamooligai will mobilize orders from company like Dabur, Himalaya, Kevinkar, Kotakal, Patanjali, Sumuna, NRPL sort of the companies. And then we will distribute these orders to different groups who are all known for or that region. If the Velathukulam region, where the farmers, the crops like chili, known for in between as a weed is the Karapan, the Eclipta. Similarly, when the farmers in Kamudi, Abhiramam and all, while they are growing groundnut, there are Punarnu as a plant, Sarnati as a weed in between. Likewise, each geographical location these particular weeds will grow along with the main crop. The farmers will do weeding up to the flowering. So they may not intervene after the flowering. So whatever the weeds grown in between are the medicinal herbs. So once the farmers harvested the main crop, the grown weeds in between the weeds grown are harvested by the traditional gatherer community and aggregated at the village level. And we have 3 warehouses, Natham, Virudhunagar, and Madurai. And there were about more than 42 different villages. We have a decentralized godowns. So this gatherer women themselves, they will choose one among the leader, and then they will procure the material for a 1 tonner or a 2 tonner or a 5 tonner capacity. And then it will come to the decentralized warehouses where we'll have, as you rightly mentioned, we will only involve in the primary processing like cleaning, grading, and bale pressing, and then supply to companies whomever they ordered us. In turn, the money will be transferred only through the bank, even from 1999 onwards. So based on that, now if you could see, out of 300 villages, 100 villages are directly billing to Dabar, Himalaya, Kevincare, Kotakal, and Patanjali. And they were the biggest competitor. In fact, they were taken over almost 90% of the business from GMCL. And each one of them doing more than 3 to 5 crores worth of business. And they are having more than 50 lakhs worth of assets.
Awesome. Yeah.
And where GMCL shifted, replicated this model with the rainfed farmers in the last 10 years with the support from NABARD, where we are promoting farmer producer organization. Again, based on our previous experience, we are following the similar 3-tier primary producer groups at the grassroots level and the clusters at the panchayat level. Wherever this particular crop, like local GI, like in Narikudi, Veerasolan, Tiruchuli, it's known for peanut. So we will only work with the peanut farmers in Narikudi. Similarly, the Vilaptikulam is known for chili. If Ramanathapuram, RS Mangalam, and known for chili, or Uchipuli is known for red rice. So we will focus on the local GI produce on the particular FUO, and then directly link with the corporates, as rightly mentioned. 24 Mandra, Pure and Sure, Zero, sort of about 58 different corporates of the Indian lead brand are directly sourcing from us. So if you could see through, even without our own 100 groups doing more than 3 to 5 crores per annum, as well as our own CBOs and FUOs are directly billing, still in the name of GMCL and our sister concern, we are able to make more than 25 crores for the last 10 years continuously.
Awesome. So you might have seen that the wisdom, that's where, look at Muthu alone has this much wisdom in his head. And it's all collected through all the people across and every district that he has mentioned. And that is the knowledge. This is what possible across the India. Wherever you go, every region has a local wisdom that is being lost. I think that is the initiative that Muthu has done and transformed even in many of the region in Tamil Nadu. So that is the power of an NGO, right? The goal is about connecting the people with the market and enable them and empower them. Then you are out and they can work with them. So bringing that unorganized sector where a lot of people are exploiting these producers and collectors and gatherers today with the Gramamooligai initiative, that is being streamlined so that they're able to do a bank transaction. They're able to work with the branch directly. I think that's the beauty of it. So Muthu, you're not only confined to Tamil Nadu. Tell about your North India initiatives and some of the herbals there, any initiative that you have done there.
Sir, actually CCD as an organization registered in the year 89 to work with the migrants, rural to urban migrants. So while they are migrating from rural to urban, both the natural resources are eroded at the source as well as the cultural erosion at the settlements. So instead of we are trying to generate employment in the lean agricultural season. like what I mentioned in the drought-prone areas of Ramanathapuram, Sivaganga, Virudhunagar, part of Pudukkottai, and part of Tirunelveli, it's all put together. One among the 7 agroclimatic regions, it's called Ramnath Plains, known for its drought, where the migrations are more than 30%. So we were begin with what you mentioned, that self-help group promotion among the landless poor women called Kalasam as a group, and we were registered 13 such federations called Maha Kalasam in 13 districts. So whatever the money mobilized by the women meant for emergency and consumption needs, whereas whatever the money we are taking from the regional rural bank, scheduled bank, SIDBI, NABARD, even we were taken external commercial borrowing in the name of CCD, and then we on-lend it to our CBO, Mahakalasam. So the money mobilized from outside one for exclusively enterprises. So we were set up 13 such enterprises, like what you mentioned, CK Prahalad support. We were ventured with smokeless stoves, whatever the agriculture residues available in the region were converted into become wood pellets first time in the country, and briquettes for briquettes for institutions and wood pellets for domestic with a stove called Gurja. So it's a partnership between small CBO, Mahakalasam, and the corporate giant, like second largest energy company in the world, BP. So similarly, we were also like worked with the medicinal plan with the Dabur, Himalaya, Kevinsar, Kottakkal, Patanjali sort of an organization. And we set up the mango pulp unit with the Parle and Nadukara agro processing companies. So we worked with more than 56 Indian corporates and multinationals to set up 13 such enterprise, social enterprises with our own community-based organizations. In the same model only, now we are replicating through farmer-producer organizations, sir. The same 13 districts with the 13 FEOs. And now we are working, we are not only directly selling the produce, but also value adding. Setting up of minor millet processing facility at Uchipli. What's your... Sir?
Yeah, Muthu. Okay, good. Correct. Super.
Like you have asked?
No. It was just a disruption. Continue, please. Yeah.
Okay. No, right now in the name of farmer producer organizations, we are setting up the value addition facility. And similar like what we have as a Mahakalasam, now we have a common brand called Aharam, where these 13 farmer producer organizations put together, they will have, they become as a one farmer producer company called Aharam Traditional Crop Producers Company. And in that, what we are trying to do, like similar like Sarvodaya Sangh, one of the Sarvodaya Sangh produce for other Sarvodaya Sanghs across the state. Similarly, whatever the agriculture produce available with the different farmer producer companies, so they will channelize their produce both for B2B and B2C in the brand as a Aharam. So we will have a recognition both the producers, it produced by Ramanathapuram Traditional Crop Producers Company, but marketed by Madurai Traditional Crop Producers Company. So likewise, each of the GI tag produce, so each FEO will recognize as a producers on one end and the marketing company on the other end. But both of them will leverage the brand as a Aharam.
Understood. This Kalasam is what Prahlad mentioned in his book, right? If I remember.
Yes,
right.
sir.
Yes. Great. Awesome. Fantastic. This is the power of, as I mentioned, that how you are able to look at the wisdom. Every agriculture startup in Native Lead or anywhere else, I'm sure if you call Muthu, he will give you around hundreds of ideas about what is the problem on the ground that you could solve. I think that's another part that I want to touch upon is about the part is on FPOs, right? So earlier, Muthu had mentioned about Trilochan Shastri. If you can put that web page, Veda. Let me talk quickly about Trilochan Shastri. Today, Trilochan Shastri is known for something called ADR, democratic reforms, right? So what that ADR has done, if you look at today, every politician has to disclose his asset. That is because of this one man, Trilochan Sastry. And he started ADR, completely transformed the electoral system today, that across the country, every politician has to disclose his assets before filing for nomination. That is done by Trilochan. So Trilochan's second baby is about FPO. So he was a professor at IIM Ahmedabad, and he moved to Bangalore to be close to his hometown. I think that's what I always call as the power of native lead, is about always we develop a soft corner to the place we grow up. So Trilochan moved from IIM Ahmedabad to IIM Bangalore because to be close with his hometown, Anantapur. Anantapur is the second driest place in the country. First is about Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. So in the second driest part of the country, the farmers, obviously, they all migrate into Bangalore. It's a 2 hours drive from Bangalore. And in the last 15 years or so, he developed an FPO. And so the point I mentioned earlier about the tiger, deer, and the grass, I think that's what Trilochan has implemented very well. His NGO is also called CCD. So CCD has promoted this FPO, and it today has created a brand called Farm Veda. And in the driest place, as Muthu mentioned, groundnut and things like that, which does not require water at all, just one shower during monsoon, it's good enough. So he promoted the native produce, which will grow in a dryland agriculture area. It brought people back into peanuts, back into gram dal, and then he developed a plant which is just processing it, and they're selling directly into it. So this FPO is grown into 60 crore worth of a business today. It's completely owned by the farmers. So that's what Trilochan is, and he's very popular class he takes in IMB called on social entrepreneurship. I think that's what I want to mention about Muthu. So he has partnered with the best minds in the country, right? Trilochan Sastry, the FRLHT started by Ratan Tata and Sam Pitroda, and Gramamooligai was pretty much incubated there with an idea. And so like this, that's the power of entrepreneurship. When you start looking at things, what you're doing, you have to look at in global standards. I think that's where people will start calling you. So as an NGO sitting in Madurai in Sevayur, now Muthu is talking about Trilochan Sastry and FRLHT. And if you remember that he was mentioning about some of the popular brands in the country, why would they call CCD and Gramamooligai? Because of the knowledge, because of the wisdom that they have developed, and documenting all these wisdom which was lying in the roadside. Now it is documented. Now from the wisdom, there is a prosperity. And as he mentioned about the self-help groups, people picking up these herbals and start supplying to the market. So that's another thing for all the agri startups today. If you are looking for a problems to solve, definitely you can reach out to Muthu. Or if you are also looking for any other ideas around that, what do you want to do about marketing your product and how do you sell the story rather than just put it on discounts and Facebook and social media. And if you look at that today, Muthu Velayudham is not in any social media, right? But he's talking to Trilochan Sastries and FRLHT, and CK Prahlad goes to him. So that is the power of knowledge and razor short focus on the vision that you set out to. Today, that's what missing in many of our entrepreneurs, that you move away from the vision and people want instant gratification. But if you do the work, if your purpose is clear, the whole world will come. And that's the example of what Muthu is able to do, sitting in Sevayur, Madurai. And he's able to bring in this world of knowledge, and people are still reaching out on what needs to be done. So the Gramamooligai itself, it could be a very good scalable business. And that is an opportunity for as well for any of you. Muthu has around maybe 10 different initiatives going on. He could take 10 CEOs, any of these entrepreneurs, if you are willing to work with Muthu also, you could definitely reach out. He will try to leverage all the bandwidth, all the relationship that you could bring in so that they can scale that as well. The last point I want to talk about, Muthu, if we have anyone have any questions, please put it in the chat box and we will ask that as well. So we need to be looking at one part is about that initiative you did in Nagamallai, Muthu, about bringing the youth into agriculture. Can you just talk a little about that? Yeah.
So before that, due to the interruption, I am not able to respond to your earlier question on the replication in other states.
Oh, yeah, please.
So that's where I began with this Kalasam. So movement in 1992, we started a Kalasam in this 13 districts, where we registered 13 Mahakalasam as a CBO. Then we floated a network called CEFI, Community Enterprise Forum India, where more than 200 organizations across the central and southern Indian states were replicated the same indigenous ways of mobilizing savings mobilization and the credit management. In the same platform, where we able to replicate this 13 enterprises in all over the 9 states, sir. So not only the Mahakalasam, but also the 13 different enterprises which we were floated, either on retailing or the wood pelleting or the medicinal herbs. Even Gramamooligai medicine were sold across 13 states through the local CBOs that time, through the Women Self-Help Group network. The Gramamooligai medicine called Village Herbs as a brand, 13 products were sold across 13 states. Similarly, whatever we did with the value addition, like honey, we set up a exclusive third-party facility inside the Himalaya, near the Himalaya factory, and then Gramamooligai were taken over the third-party processing for Himalaya, including the procurement, processing, bottling, and supply under the brand of Himalaya. So even now, even this year, for the last 2-3 years, we are doing Salmora oil as an exclusive processing facility supported by Dabur.
What is that, Muthu? What is Salmora oil?
It's called Salmora oil in English. Maravetta enna in Malayalam.
Oh, okay.
In Tamil, Neeradi Muttu ennai. Earlier, it's meant for leprosy, but now Dabur is making product for psoriasis.
Okay.
So earlier, Dabur used to procure the traders, but while they set up a factory for Gramamooligai, so the first batch of production, Dabur announced in the 5th International Ayurveda Congress at Bhopal, mentioned that whatever their 60 years experience, this is the first time they able to get the quality oil directly from the primary producers. So this quality has become the benchmark for the entire industry for Salmora processing. Similarly, for this our organic producers, like as you mentioned, that the current demand on the drumstick leaves in our own Sevayur, we were introduced our Tamil Nadu coastal as a one variety, where we have the pale green drumstick, and our Alagarasamy as a local farmer through NAF. There is a breeder in Vadipatti, so his own variety, and PKM by the government, and Natham and Varshanadu, where you can get the wild varieties of drumstick. And wherever we found the domestic, the backyard of every household, whatever we have the local variety, the Desi variety of drumstick. So one particular corporate is able to make these 5 different species, 5 different varieties at separate, and they were able to help the farmers for increase the productivity, and they were able to also get they able to fetch us the best price even in the export market. So similarly, what Gramamooligai also helped farmers in Chithalinge, farmers in Satyamangalam, and all to directly supply their organically grown turmeric. So even the place like Barmir or Udaipur or Madhya Pradesh in Mahakoshal area, where nowadays directly the farmer producer organizations are directly supplying to Himalaya, Natural Remedy sort of the companies through Gramamooligai, sir.
Understood. Awesome.
Muthu, this is Shankar. This Chalmurga oil seeds are available in the plains, or is it in the hills?
No, Salmora oil, it's only available in the forest, particularly where you have streams, like perennial streams. Only in those places only naturally it's we were able to see. So the Salmora seeds are almost 90% are coming from Kerala only.
Okay.
But trees are available even in Nattam. Very huge number of matured trees are available. But the local gatherers who are able to procure, and it requires some sort of a processing at the farm gate level. So till now it's happening only in Kerala, sir.
Is there any local name for this?
No, in Tamil, as I mentioned, it's called Neeradi Muttu. In Malayalam, it is called Maravetta. In Tamil, Maravetta Kuru. Malayalam in Maravetta Kuru. The common name is Sal Mohara.
Okay.
Awesome.
Interesting.
So, yeah, Shankar, I told you, you would love talking with Muthu.
Yeah,
so,
no,
Muthu,
in fact,
Muthu, Shankar is the person I mentioned to you about in Karur. His field is, has quite a lot of trees of natural products. I think definitely, he should meet with you sometime. Yeah.
I just wanted to share 2 points with Mr. Muthu.
Yeah.
One is that in the Kanvali Kirangu, it's grown prevalently in Aravakurichi in Karur, Kodinjatram, Edeyakotte in Dindigul district.
Yes, sir.
Where, I've visited the plant. It's almost in our field, it is there in Edeyakotte. Yeah. And in fact, I supplied, the plastic wire for the pandal.
Oh, great.
They have some 5-6 string of, that wire, which is made out of the PET bottles. We made those wires. It's again, green technology and sustainable product.
Great, sir.
Supply for tomato growers as well as this Sengondal Malarville. We used to supply those wires. And another thing is, we have lands in Karur, plenty of wild avaram poo, avaram kai, and then leaves, I just checked up in the website. These things are sold, the leaves, the dried leaves, the dried the seeds as well as the flower are sold. Is there any avenue for avaram poo?
Sir, avaram poo, if you could see any of the local, even nowadays the grocery stores used to sell the dried flowers because it is well known among the persons who are all having blood sugar.
Okay.
And the place like in Madurai and all, if you could see even all the, wherever the people going for morning walk and all, people used to sell the fresh flowers. As well as it is available in the form of juice. Even some companies are having as like a tip tea. Even our own farm, for the, as Naha mentioned, from 92 onwards, there are about 60 women are working. They are drinking only the avaram tea for both morning and evening. So it's a very good product for sugar, sir, for blood sugar to manage.
We also have it, then and there we just pluck it and have a fresh tea made from avaram poo.
Exactly, sir. Even the pot also used as a tip tea, sir. Avaram poo pot. Even leaves also has a huge demand.
No, it is
the
being
whole
sold in
plant
Amazon.
like Karpaga village.
It is sold in Amazon.
Pardon, sir?
It is sold in Amazon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great. So, Muthu, anyone else have any questions? There was a question about Muthu that Moringa now Africa also started growing. Do you see any dip in India's Moringa demand going down?
Sir, our own domestic to meet our own domestic demand, we need another 5 more African continents, sir.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And there was a question about the mobilization. I know that your Adik Tiruvula is one of the major activity. I keep missing, not able to make it. I think one of this year I want to come. So the mobilization of the youth. See, today you have these youngsters are used to social media and there is a people following them. But in India, only 25% have only internet access. So I think you were on the ground and the later generation have no idea how to mobilize on the ground. So can you give some tips about, agriculture startups working on the ground? How do we mobilize, activities on the ground and how you are able to build such a network over the many years? Any tips, Muthu?
Sir, for an example, while we formed the first Kalasam groups in Narikudi block, where we were approached only some 18 villages, where we were able to form 36 groups. And once we formed as a federation, then the leaders of the federation only replicated this model even to identify the hamlets. So the second model replicated in Ilayangudi and Kalayargoil block, and that took about 3 years. But the third model replicated in Natham happened in 1 year. And the 4th year, they able to replicate at a stretch of 8 locations. So it's only happened through people-to-people process. If the local women, particularly the leaders of because the leaders who elected, they are all based on their exposure, based on their networks. Only the other members of the group electing them has become representative in the board. So they are the one who are able to replicate easily. Then what the professionals could do it in 10 years time, the leaders could be able to do it in 1 year's time, sir. Which is the same thing even in farmer producer organization or youth mobilization or even to running a tuition center. We used to use the people-to-people process then into we ourselves as a professionals visiting even identifying the potential villages for our intervention and the families to become member as a partner into us.
Yeah. So one question, Muthu, I remember asking you a question earlier that how come this Sengandal, which is, Kanvalikalangu, it's a state flower of Tamil Nadu, but how come a European company came to know about this? And you had mentioned about we've lost a lot of these early manuscripts. It was written in palm leaves, and can you just tell that theory? I'm sure many of the youngsters may not have heard about it. Even I was not aware of that.
Sir, actually, not only the medicinal plants, even for when AVT is giving a purchase order to Gramamooligai for supplying red chili, AVT partnered with McCormick, is a US-based organization. So they have a joint venture, a special purpose vehicle at Valaikulam near Ernakulam. So they will give the purchase order, quote unquote, Satur Malli, Ramanathapuram Mundu. So they knew the coriander cultivated near this Mudugulatur, Abhiramam, Kamudi, and part of Vilatigulam, Arupukottai, those blocks were the ultimate supply to Satur Mandi. But internationally, since they were directly sourcing from the Mandi, they were branded as Satur Malli, the coriander seeds. Similarly, wherever the chili grown, even in Paramakudi, Parthibanur, or Ilayangudi, Salagramam, RS Mangalam as a Mandi, but ultimately the Mundu is identified as Ramanathapuram Mundu. So, how this our Madurai Malli has a thing, even local farmers, even though they may grow drumstick in Nattam, but while they are selling locally, they will sell Palamedum Murugai. If they sell some brinjal, also they will sell only at Aviyur Katarika. So wherever the local headload vendors and push carters, whatever they pronounce as like a GI, so if we could able to check the scientific thing, we have one experience in '99 when the Gramamooligai as a trial run for cultivation, Unicorn, Hyderabad, the organization were approached Gramamooligai. They wanted to mass production of Brahmi for the memory pills. So they were able to identify Brahmi grown in 24 Diamond Harbor area in Calcutta, globally known, its chemical constituents are more than compared to other parts of the globe. So the Unicorn as a company airlifted the parental stock from the 24 Diamond Harbor area and supplied near Ayalur in Nattam, in Tendikal region. So wherever we planted those parental stock, even though Unicorn not in the business, Gramamooligai is not in the business, but still those villages are still continuing the cultivation, and the Kerala traditional houses are directly able to reaching them out and lifting the material for last more than 30 years are now. It doesn't require any professional intervention or any other external support. Once they have a produce, the industries are directly approaching them. So in terms of what you mentioned, for an example, we work with Professor Anil Gupta through Honeybee Network from 88 onwards, 92 onwards, through Seva, when they become a partner with Honeybee Network. So CCD also become a partner. So we were able to document about 60,000 traditional healers and the ethnic food preparers in the entire South Tamil Nadu. And after the documentation, through FLHT, we able to validate only on some 5 streams, the women who involved in the birth attendants and the bone setters and poisonous bites treating families. Likewise, only top five the practitioners in the region where we are working, we were able to validate, inviting scientific community from Allopath, Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani and Tibetan medical students, whether if the family in Achambatu treating hepatitis B with some plants, whether it has a reference in any one of the 5 streams of our codified system. Because these families who are all treating this hepatitis B, it is on a hereditary, on an oral tradition. It's not written even within the family or the neighborhoods. So similarly, both Honeybee and FLHT did lot of scouting local tradition, science, and validate with the scientific community from IITs and ICRs and other research stations. And whatever the validated the technology or the produce or the system were able to replicate it at least across so many NGOs in all the sectors, not only medicine or traditional medicine or ethnic food or ethno-veterinary or fishery, you name it, any part of any form of intervention by the NGOs, they will always use whatever documented and validated by Honeybee Network partners or National Innovation Foundation or FLHT initiative on DAVLHT. Even what right now, our every state has a biodiversity board. So Tamil Nadu Biodiversity Board again assigned CCD to form a model biodiversity committees at the district level. So it's being funded by GIZ for the last last year. We did it Tamil Nadu on behalf of Tamil Nadu Biodiversity Board. So now the Biodiversity Board become empower the committee to work with whomever is extracting the resources from the local community. They have to pay the 2% of the value of the produce to the local community for replenish the resources being extracted at the community level. So the same thing again, Dabur and Gramamooligai will demonstrate a model where it's remained in the QCI website. Whatever the produce supplied by the gatherers in Madhya Pradesh, the Gramamooligai group, the Dabur has paid to Gramamooligai, and in turn the group has paid to the local forestry department as a chess under the National Biodiversity Authority regime.
Awesome. Madhu, go ahead, Madhu.
So, I'm Madhu from Karur. So I just want to know, recently I read in a newspaper that in Pakistan, this mango is also grown in the non-seasonal times, in the winter seasons. So have you come across about mango growing in the winter, that is in India, anywhere in Tamil Nadu?
Sir, as a nature, for an example, if I'm having a 40 trees in 1 acre, so of which during the peak season, in a regular season, I will get only 50% of the trees only will have a good flowers.
Okay.
The remaining like 1/3 will have a off-seasonal flowering. And remaining 1/3, it won't flower both the season. So that will, like a cycle, will come on the 3rd year.
Okay.
So this is a nature, but if you could see the country, like in the month of February itself, now the fresh mango fruits will be available in Kollam. It's like a monsoon. It will begin in Kollam in February. And March, you will get the fruit from Kutralam. And April, you will get the fruits from Rajapalayam. And May, you will get the fruits from Nattam. And June, you will get the fruits from the coastal Tamil Nadu and Chittoor. And July, you will get the fruits in Srinivasapura. And August, you will get the fruits in Aurangabad in Maharashtra. Like a monsoon, it will flow. The same reverse, you will have the off-seasonal fruits available. But nowadays, like how we are doing genetically modifications in the species or the productivity, you have a well-organized group in Kanyakumari district, the bordering Kerala and Tamil Nadu. They won't allow the trees to flower during the peak season, mean the regular season, for which chemical will spray. So the flower doesn't come in the main season. Instead of, they will they will spray another hormone in the lean season. So there is a farmer network registered in Marthandam. It's called Off-Season Mango Growers Association. They have more than 20,000 farmers. So last month they able to sell the ordinary mango, which used to be 15 rupees for vegetable. They able to sell in the off season at Bombay market at 150 rupees.
Good news, sir. I will. This is a very useful news from you.
Amazing, Muthu. So we'll follow the monsoon to find mango throughout the year. Sriram, go ahead, Sriram.
Thank you, Naga. Sir, Muthu, sir, my name is Sriram. So I only wish I had met you 25 years back. So, the experience was exactly in the reverse order. The direction and the ownership was from corporate. So now I can probably share why it did not work. So the largest companies who had even a lot of Kerala investors had sold lands and bought lands. I'm sure you're familiar in the border states, Tirunelveli and Thengasi districts, to do farming. 300 acre, 600 acre kind of land ownings were coming. That is the informal holding. Officially, I think only Precol, Parry, EID Parry, and a couple of other companies, they had an official land sealing clearance to do corporate farming. So the answer which came, I was also involved in a project which was about 1,500 acres to grow neem and medicinal plants in the Maniachi belt. It was almost a 10-year work, during which we did later in the days interact with FRLHT, CAMS, a couple of those organizations. But the model was wrong because we brought a corporate thinking. So the land is an investment. So there's a chartered accountant who starts the clock of return on investment on the land, which should take 2-3 years to be brought back to fertility, because they have been uncultivated. Even the bunds are removed, no hedge trees. There's no greenery anywhere in sight. These are all the rainwater eroded soils in that Kaitar Maniachi belt, which have all gone to seed over 20-30 years of all the farmers moving to migratory jobs in Thoothukudi or Koilpatti or Madurai. The first part. So again, because of this perspective from the corporate thinking, we don't think of the land as the machinery or as the asset. So, 3 years I have to implement tree planting. I have to, do planting of some 10 models to see whether it works or not. So before clearing it, you just go spend a lot of time, doing perfect rows and pairs to, plant these trees. So end of 10-15 years, then we may meet, and then in this process, those were very sensitive areas at that time with a lot of local disturbances and law and order issues. So one did not have a model at that time, farmer producer company, and this corporates, the direction was not clear in working with NGOs. So the integration of both the knowledge and the resources of the local people never took place. So in a typical plantation mentality, since it was supported by a planting company who merely wanted neem cakes at a controlled price, so there was a question of only paying day wages like you would do to a farmer, and keep ticking boxes instead of understanding what the ecosystem was earlier and what it could have become later. So later on in Dan Foundation and then through their introduction, we saw models in Siddhireddy Patti near Kalupatti, where a village has a perfectly compatible model which works beautifully, except that it is not a corporate model. So the entire village, they have neem tree planted, left uncut within farm. And the farmers are doing plowing and doing black grams and green grams as a side crop. And the loppings from the neem, the neem leaves are fed to goats. So you have a Sylvie, a pastoral and a agriculture model, all three in one. And one could go to see hundreds of acres of land with at least half a dozen fully grown trees left in each farm. So that's when we realized a little late in the business model that the model should have been ground up and not top down. So people sitting in board cannot just take a extrapolated value of a crop saying that Kanvali Karanga value irukku, Amukkuraki value irukku. So we'll grow it anywhere. Illa sir inda oorla varadu. Illa appo then you amend the soil. Appo varuma theriyadu. Potu paathurom. So that basic arrogance of the person with capital who thinks I can level grounds, I can bring water, I bring experts, I bring consultants, and not listen to the soil, the local ecosystem or the local wisdom, like how Naga sir mentioned. I think, the learning on unfortunately, it was later in the day. So now I know all the things one should not do when one has to grow agriculture, particularly widely grown and naturally growing medicinal plants and herbs. I think beyond a point, it is not possible to scale. Beyond a point, if you have overheads of centralized plowing and irrigation and supervision managers and all that, it is not going to work. So ideally, it's a beautiful ground-up model, like the factory dairies versus the Gujarat model again, which we discussed, of each homestead having 4 cows, and that cluster has a collection center. That larger federal area has a chilling plant. From that, it goes to the main processing unit. And this model gets replicated in several districts, now in multiple parts of the country. I think that would be the best model to do medicinal plant cultivation, or even your heritage varieties of chilies, which have high spice content or whatever. Unfortunately, these cycles also go when a corporate leads these developments, that the entire the flowers, the yellow flowers which A.V. Thomas was growing in Satyamangalam belt, I've seen the cycle come up, grow for a while, xanthine, Sevanthi Poo, xanthine. Vandache project murjache, but now there is not a single crop. So there are people who have gone into that crop for 5-10 years, which was probably not a native crop. It grew for a while. A.V. Thomas bought it for the same extraction for xanthine, coloring agent, for natural coloring agent for
I think
whatever.
that's why now that's why A.V. Thomas now found Muthu. So A.V. Thomas' son is actually
Rahul
working
Thomas.
with you, Muthu, right now?
Rahul Thomas.
Yes, very nice.
Ajit Thomas' son, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the model,
Yeah.
so this basic thing of the corporate thinking of market, I think this the Gandhian model or Schumacher model of small is beautiful. But other curse in the modern economy, we have lost out on funding, title, aggregation, then collective processing. So if there is an overlay of an NGO or a farmer producer company, then they are able to discuss and negotiate with the corporates on more equal terms. I think earlier, I think the first 50 years, all the minor forest produce collectors from the forest have been exploited. We had these draconian forest rules, which left out the rights of the indigenous stakeholder in the forest. In some, stroke of a pen, we don't allow them to go in. So if they now go in, the forest department guards make more money than the minus forest produce collector.
That's why now we have Muthu in place to take care of that. Yes, Sriram.
Absolutely.
So that's great. I think superb, Sriram.
So what you were brief about the model, sir, our own neighbor state, Kerala.
Yes.
If you could see in every household,
correct,
every week, the women goes to local huts, Vara Chandai. If they
correct,
go there, they will go with 10-20 different sheets of rubber sheets, then small quantities of pepper, then bunch of banana, then depending upon the season, they will also have a mango and jackfruits. No, the women goes with some 40-50 kgs of produce from her own homestead.
Yes.
They will sell at the local weekly hut and able to buy whatever the salt or sugar or oil or chili powder. She will procure back. What else we need the model, sir?
Absolutely, sir.
Model. Even for corporates are now looking for organically certified drumstick leaves. If the women going to harvest from community resource, from the wild collection also, whatever the labor they are spending on collecting and semi-processing and selling to the corporate, whatever the price, even directly by the exporters, it doesn't match with our Mahatma Gandhi, MNREGA money. So that's why none of the women are not interested to go for this harvest. So even the plant is available as a free. Only the labor, if the corporates are not able to meet even that much money, how it is possible for expected to supply a quality material with certification by the farmer, where the farmers has to dig 800 feet to 2000 feet for a quarter inch of water, and then to every tillage has about 1,500 rupees expenditure on plowing the cast, then the farmyard manure or DAP, and then the other growth promoters are there.
Yes.
How it is possible, sir? There is no
Sir,
sign.
Interesting point.
Not able to fetch the minimum price.
Yeah.
How the farmer could invest thousands of rupees and able to, the corporates are expect the same price supplied by the same gatherers who are all harvesting from the free.
Yes. So I think that is where I think the point you mentioned earlier about Aharam. It's about how do we bring make the farmer tiger. So the Aharam is the solution. So we'll do one session around purely on agri marketing, Muthu. And yes, we would love to have you again with a few more sessions on different topics. And there are quite a lot of interest has come up. So I think it's almost 8 o'clock. So it's 1.5 hours.
And the forward integration, processing, certifications, and how do the farmers or the communities become the owner of the brand rather than Dabar or somebody or Sami Labs having to take away everything and put it. When we are not against that model, but why would that entire gap go to the trader and the financier rather than to the producer?
There is enough volume for B2B and B2C. So how do we start looking at? I think that's where. Thank you very much, Muthu. I think. As usual, every time I speak with you, it's a load of wisdom comes in. Today, my takeaway is that the mango following the monsoon, that was terrific. I have no idea about that one. And thank you very much for the knowledge. I think we will do a series of sessions to unlock the wisdom that you have. I think while you are unlocking rural wisdom, we would like to unlock the wisdom sitting in your head, Muthu. In the series of sessions, we'll continue to do that. And we'll come back to you with more updates and requiring to mentor a few of our agri startups. I think already, we're talking to you about the agri accelerator that we would like to do. So we'll work with that closely, taking the CC division along with Native Lead. And we have people like Shankar and Sriram and Madhu. There are quite a lot of people who are interested in the space. And we have Andy Giri joined from overseas, Prasanna from Japan. All of them are very, very keen about what the work that you are doing. I think it's a very fantastic culmination of what we could do achieve. So we'll come back. Veda will reach out to you, Muthu, further and what we could do. Take care. Thanks for your time. Thanks, everyone. And we can wrap up. And any questions, reach out to Veda. Veda, you can reach out and share your email ID so that anyone who would like to find more details, please reach out. We'll be happy to coordinate. We will also start a mentoring sessions by Muthu as well. We are starting office hours. So agri startups could apply, have a one-on-one with Muthu as well. We'll soon start that. Thank you very much, Muthu, for coming forward with your all the busy schedule and dealing with so many things and spending this much time with us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Muthu. Thank you, Naga.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Veda and the Native Lead team.